his name. He was one of the crew of the Victory, and his job when the battle begun was to take cannonballs out of basket and shove them down front end of the gun. Now one day, him and Nelson were boxing the compass like sailor lads do, when Auntie comes up with a spyglass and pointing says, "Here, take a screw." Well, they looked to where Auntie were pointing and saw lots of ships in a row. And Joe said, abrupt-like but respectful, "Horatio, lad, yon's the foe." "What say we attack 'em?" says Joseph. Says Nelson, "Nay, lad, not today." And Auntie says, "Ah, well, let's toss up." And Horatio answered, "OK." Well, they tossed, correct for attacking and tailed for t'other way about. And Joe lent him his 2-headed penny, so the answer was never in doubt. And when the penny came down, 8 side upwards, they were in for a do it were plain. And Joe murmured, "Shiver me timbers," and Nelson kissed Auntie again. And then taking the flags out of locker, he strung out a message on high. To all about England and duty. Crew thought they was hung out to dry. Well, they got the guns ready for action, and that gave them trouble enough. They hadn't been fired all summer, and Tittleshalls were bombed up with fluff. Now, Joe's cannon, it was half a corker. The cannonballs went 3 foot round, and they wasn't no toy balloons neither. They weighed close on 65 pounds. Now, Joe, selecting 2 of the largest, was going to load double for luck, when hot shot came in through a porthole, and a gunpowder barrel got struck. By God, there weren't half an explosion, and the gun crew was filled with alarm, as out of a porthole went Joseph with a cannonball under each arm. At that moment, up came the boatswain. He says, "Where's Joe?" And I replied, "He's taken 2 cannonballs with him and gone for a breather outside." "Does he belong?" said the boatswain, and the gun replied, "If it's how he come back as quick as he left us, he should be here any time now." Excuse me. Now all this time, Joe, treading water, was trying his hardest to float, and he shouted through turmoil of battle, "Tell someone to lower a boat!" He'd come to the top for assistance, then back down to the bottom he'd go, and this up and down kind of existence made everyone laugh, except Joe. Now at last he could stand it no longer, and coming once more to the top, he said, "If you don't come and save me, I'll let Roddy cannonballs drop." Well, 'twas Nelson that finished who saved him, and he said Joe deserved the VC, but finding he hadn't one Andy, he gave him an egg for his tea. And after the battle were over, and vessel was safely in dock, the sailors all saved up their coupons, and they bought Joe a nice marble clock. There you are.
Shall I just turn off the heating and see how we go? Is everyone all right? Because we've got our coats on. Yeah, is that all right? Kate, would you be kind enough? And by the way, I misread what I'd said. It's over 280 years of Tittleshall life. I just lost 50 years. I'm not sure which one of them is over 20. So I've broken this down into sections, and the first bit we're going to talk about is schools, as we're sitting in what was the school. And so I'm just going to ask each of the panel a question about their memories. I'm going to start off with ladies first. So Shirley, you started here at this school in the 1940s. Sorry, I know everyone thinks you're 26, but it was the 1940s. And can you just tell us about your early memories here of coming in here? And you were at school with Paul's auntie, whose name was Gillian Rayner.
Yeah, she's my mate.
Yeah, so Gillian is in a care home in Fakenham. So what are your early memories of being in here?
I remember my first day at school, walking down the Wellingham Road with David, getting all the instructions about what I should do. I don't think he was the best person to listen to anyway.
David was your big brother?
Yeah. We did lots of reading, writing and arithmetic when we were assuming we were old enough, because that's what she concentrated on so much. But you never ever forget your times tables, do you?
No.
Ever. I remember the knit nurse coming, or cure that up there and having your hair pulled out. I remember going to the dentist at Litcham School, having your teeth yanked out and coming home with great big wads of cotton wool in your mouth. But there was also lots of good times, lots of playtimes. We didn't have an infant teacher in those days, not until a bit later on.
So who was your teacher?
Christine Carter.
Oh, hang on, I'm going to look over here because I know there's some memories over here who will probably come up in the second half of Christine Carter.
Yeah, they probably more Dora Johnson. But yeah, she lived in the schoolhouse. We went over every Monday morning to listen to the radio, or wireless as we called it then, singing together, which was a programme for schools. Crowded round in her front room, all singing and enjoying it, and it was lovely.
The happy memories.
Happy memories, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Graham, I've got to know you more in the last few years, and I can't believe that you were a favourite of Miss Johnson's. What was she like?
I wasn't a favourite, Mrs. Johnson.
Is there anybody in the room who was Miss Johnson's favourite?
Yes,
Is it my brother-in-law?
yes.
Derek Osborne, teacher's pet. We'll never look at him the same again, will we? So what was she like, Miss Johnson?
Oh, she was a lovely, lovely lady as far as that goes, you know. She was a very nice teacher. And she instilled upon us that we weren't allowed to leave the school to secondary school unless we knew our times table up to 12. We'd have, you know, she'd have you in doing extra lessons to make sure you knew your times table up to 12. We were the elderly ones with Dora. Mrs. Carr, she was in the other room with the younger children. I've still got scars from her.
Oh. Was that a slipper or a cane?
No, if you'd done anything wrong, she'd come up behind you, she'd got nails about 3 foot long and
Oh.
bobbed you in the back of the head so you knew you'd done wrong.
So she'd be in prison now, she'd be in Holloway,
Yeah,
wouldn't she?
yeah.
That's what you're doing now. Okay.
I've got to say, and like Shirley, they used to go and listen to the radio. We used to go down to Dora's house, which is now Courtney House, and watch the programmes on the telly.
On the telly, wow.
Yeah, black and white.
And what year was this?
No idea.
Okay.
Then,
So probably the mid-50s,
yeah,
late
then
50s?
for lunch we used to go out the door, up the path to Nicholas Hills, and that's where we had the canteen.
So to what was the rectory?
Yeah, carts used to deliver in big canisters, and Mrs. Melton, she used to be the dinner lady.
Oh, we're going to talk about Edie Melton later
Yeah,
on, aren't we?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant. Derek, you lived opposite Miss Johnson, and we've all just heard that you were a teacher's pet, so now I know that I'm never going to let it drop, all right, as your sister-in-law. Okay. What was she like, and what was her home and farm like? Did they farm there at Lower Farm?
In the early days, I think Wilfred Johnson did, but I don't remember him. But Dora and her sister were teachers. I think one of them, she taught in Down. And Arthur, he was there as a brother, but he was keeping bullocks down the road at the time. And that wasn't a bad little earner if we had to go and round them up. But, you know, that's what it was.
So was she a nice lady?
She could be, yes. She spent
Like
most
did-
of her time, winter time, sitting on that fire guard in front of that heater there.
Warming her big bloomers?
You got it?
Yeah, they all had big bloomers. Dick, where did you go to school at age 11, and how did you get there and home again? Where did you go?
We went to Litcham at 11. Well, when we first went, when my brother went, the school supplied bicycles.
No, they supplied bicycles to the kids in
Yeah.
Tittleshall.
If you didn't
And
have
then
anything, yeah.
then they gave you allowance if you had your own bike. But when I went, there was nothing. I had to find my own bike.
You were half done by.
My brother used the bike. He used to get the Carter's Hill and get a punch up. Instead of walk to school, he used to walk home. But yeah, they were good days. Good days. We, as I say, we started in the infant room there, and then we came in here. I usually had to sit over there because I was old, getting a bit of mischief. Desk over there where the big door is, but we had some good time.
And who was your teacher?
Dora Johnson,
Yeah, okay.
Mrs. Carr and Winterbourne, Brian Winterbourne from Whittington, and
Okay.
Mrs. Carr from Milam, and then we came in here, Dora Johnson. And she used to make her sister there every
I forgot about the
Monday.
milk. What about the milk?
Fun.
What about the third of a pint
Oh
of milk?
yeah, she used to tell the milk. And she'll take her, and there was Arthur, Amy, Dora and Maura. Dora and Maura used to sit in the front room. Arthur had the back room, and Amy had to be in the wrong home, bless her.
And this is at what Low Farm, what's now called the house. Okay, the main
Because I
house.
think Wilfred Johnson actually got TB, and he was in a caravan up the common.
Oh, that's nice. So don't get sick in Tittleshall in the 50s because you get moved in the caravan up the common, which is, for you who don't know, is sort of way up on the Wellingham Road up there.
Well, yeah, they were good days. We enjoyed ourselves. And when we came home from Litcham, when we came home from school, we went on the farm and done some work.
Which farm was that?
That'd be Stanley Road then.
Okay, well we're going to talk about him, aren't we?
Other than that, nights, we go up on close, play cricket, play roses, go on the mill and skate,
Okay,
play
right.
hills and sledge. We had a good time.
Hold those thoughts.
Yeah.
Shirley, I mean, I do a lot of maintenance or cleaning in the church and helping out there. And your name is on the scholarship board for Fakenham Grammar School.
Yeah.
So I can't believe you weren't teacher's pet and then Derek took over from you. But, you know, how did that work out? How did you do that? Was there an 11 plus? How did that work?
That was okay. The only trouble was, just as I passed the 11 plus, my dad was diagnosed with MS. So we couldn't work anymore, so that was tough on my mum to get uniform and everything. But there was a lady lived down the road where Wendy and Sue lived, whose daughter had been to grammar school, and she gave me the blazer and the tunic and everything to help us out.
Fantastic.
That was really happy days at Clayton as well.
And obviously, like I said, in the interval we'll ask the audience, but there is another family who, several children, the Calabys, who went to Fakenham Grammar School as well, whose name's on the board, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, one over there.
Yeah, I know. I can see her.
Yeah, the board's up the church.
Yeah, the board's up in the church, thank you. Well, let's move on and talk about the church then. So just staying with you, Shirley, who was the vicar when you were young? And where did they live? What were they like?
Mr. Douglas, who lived in what's now the old rectory now, and his wife. They were very, very nice people. Their daughter and son, Penelope and David, lived there with them. Well, they were away at school a lot of the time. But yeah, they were very kind to us, and we went up there a lot. Had church Sunday school in the afternoons.
On a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, Sunday afternoons, but a bit later than that, there was the Methodist Sunday school, was huge. Really packed out, weren't it?
So was that in the Methodist chapel now, or was
They
that
started
elsewhere?
that, and that was a Sunday morning, and that was really good. George Reed from Litcham ran that, and Mike Coleman was his assistant.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
That was very good.
And Maureen.
Maureen, yeah, was there too.
Brilliant. And so, Dick, on Remembrance Sunday, you know, what happened? Because obviously, at the moment, we have a service and then we meet at the War Memorial. But what happened when you were young with the Remembrance service?
Well, there used to be a massive, and I mean a massive, British Legion. Marilyn's father used to organise. I mean, there'd be unbelievable amount of British Legion here on that particular day. The church would be full of Legion flags and wonderful service that was then. Yeah.
And the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the parade?
Stretched from the top of the street till nearly the bottom. Everybody
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah.
The
That's
flag's
very, very
flag's still in
excellent.
the church, Dick.
And
The flag is still in the church.
So that was a sort of a wonderful Sunday,
oh yeah.
and something that everyone looked forward to. And what was the parade made up of? Was it just all the, obviously you said all the
British
villages
Legion.
and all the British
Yeah.
Legion,
British.
villages, Sunday school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
carrying the standard, yeah.
Amazing. Derek, did you go to Sunday school?
Yes,
And what were your memories of going to Sunday school? Where was it and what were your memories?
in the chapel,
In the Methodist
George
chapel.
Reed, as Shirley said,
And what did you do?
not too much.
So basically it was a way to get out before Sunday dinner. Mother made the Sunday dinner, was
No, we
it?
didn't go too quick because he always had a bag of sweets.
Ah. And what was his name again? George
George Reed.
Reed,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, from Litcham.
From Litcham. interesting, okay. And he's obviously passed away long ago, has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
So
used to have a yearly outing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that.
the Sunday school outing, tell us
Yes.
about it.
I think that was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite
You know,
nice.
they used to
Yeah.
have a
You all had to do something.
Yeah, you had to do something for it, oh yeah.
Like, what did you have to do?
We had an
Recite,
anniversary.
poem,
Ah, I see.
do something.
So-
Everyone done something.
To get on the outing, to earn credits to get on the
Not so
outing.
much that, just to raise money and things like that.
Okay.
That chapel used to be packed Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, again on a Tuesday evening, and then we did it at Raffle, didn't we?
Well, that's interesting. Graham, do you remember any of the other vicars?
Douglas, I think he used to run the Cubs, was it?
Mr. Douglas did
Used to do the Cubs,
Brownies, I don't know.
Brownies and Cubs?
Did you have cubs?
No.
I thought he had the
Well, I
Cubs.
don't remember Cubs, but they had
Oh.
brownies and girl
Brownies
guides.
and girls.
And Mr. Douglas ran that.
Yeah,
Do you remember the Reverend Fawcett? I went to school
Yeah.
with his children, and
yeah.
I mean, what I'd heard was the rumour that he didn't have a television, but he would come round your house and, you know, sit and watch the television with you, you know, with villagers. Is that true?
Yes.
I don't remember that, but he lived in the new rectory, obviously.
He was in the new rectory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Derek, you said yes, so you've got memories of the Reverend Fawcett coming round on a Sunday and
Yes,
watching the television.
I think that was after Father died. He came, you know, sort out the bits and pieces, but
They all visited,
they used to pop in, yeah.
because they only had Tittleshall well to do then.
Yeah, of course, not the 17 parishes that one vicar's got now. Anyway, Dick, I was going through the census in 1900, and it mentions a Baptist chapel. Have you got any recollection of where that might
Well,
be?
that wasn't gone, but that was through what we call Hard Yard.
Howard's Yard.
Yeah.
Okay, where is that now, for people who
Well,
don't know?
where the new inn used to be,
Okay,
and where that's converted into flat now, but that was a Baptist.
Baptist church,
I
yeah.
think
On
years
the
ago
main
there was
road.
actually five chapels.
oh, it's actually called, there's a house called The Chapel. It's a holiday home, is that
Chapel.
where it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting because I'd never heard of that, the Baptist chapel, but it was just a derelict chapel, was it? Nobody
Well,
lived
that
there.
was just left empty for years.
Yeah.
So, Jenny, when you were younger, who played the organ when you went to church? And like at these Remembrance Sundays, who played the organ for you?
Mrs. Ella Withers. Forever.
Forever,
I've got a
yeah?
date here somewhere. 1915 to 1978.
Was she really?
Yeah. But also,
1978. Is that when she passed away?
that's
1970?
when she played,
Okay.
played the organ. When she
I know she was alive in the 80s, or I thought she was,
Doc
yeah.
Baldwin also played the organ. Alice Calaby Robertson.
Yeah.
So, but
Ella
she was,
taught him, didn't
she was the main organist. Yeah.
What did you say, Graham, sorry?
Ella taught Robin.
Yeah,
'cause
she
I
did.
think was Ella his auntie, or...
Yeah.
Okay, because we all called her Auntie Ella. I wasn't sure who she was
Yeah,
actually
well,
auntie to.
That's
And,
his father's sister.
oh, okay. So good. So plenty of organists, and now we have to scrap around and ask, you know,
Yeah.
people if they can or not.
She trot up the street on Saturday afternoon to go and have a little practice.
Did she?
Yeah.
I was up there last week, there's some distant relations of her been trying to find her grave,
Okay.
and now the church has opened, the book with the graves has been returned to the table, and I looked, and we found out where she was, but there's nothing there.
No.
And
There
I
is-
looked in the book further, and what should be there is a wooden cross.
Right, it could have rotted away,
Yeah.
couldn't it, in nearly 40 years? Okay. Well, at least you know where her
Yeah,
remains
she-
were,
yeah,
which
she
was
should
lovely.
know where it's
So
from.
just for everyone, there is a book at the church. It's not quite up to date, but it shows where everyone that we know is buried, where their plots are, even if there isn't a headstone. Let's move on to children's activities. You know, the youth club, Brownies, Guides, St John's, the Sunday school. So, Shirley, you just mentioned about the Brownies and Guides. Did you attend?
Yeah.
And who were the leaders? And did you ever have to go to camp?
Well, Mrs. Douglas, the rector's wife, she ran the Brownies and Guides at the old rectory.
Okay.
Well, that was their rectory then. Yeah, that was good over the years. If she was away, we got into quite a bit of mischief. But yeah, they were very good to us. I think we went to, I remember going to guides camp once, but I couldn't remember where it is. It might have been Senna Park or something like that. Quite close to them anyway.
Hillington, okay, thank you. Oh well, hold that thought because I'm going to ask you more about it. Graham, did you belong to the youth club?
Yeah,
Well, where was it? What did you get up to?
part of where Tony Smith lived.
I think it's where is it where Tony lives?
No,
or-
Yeah.
it's where my garage is.
Oh, okay, there you go. It's not where Brian's living, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, that must have been.
The best recollection is one night we decided to have some fun, so we snuck into the youth club, crushed 3 stink bombs, then tied the door up and went and sat on top of the wall, listened to people screaming.
Like I said before, I don't think you were one of Miss Johnson's
No.
favourites. So when you say we, who was the we?
To be honest, I can't remember.
Obviously they're not your friends now, because they're all in prison, are they?
I can imagine one of them was my cousin,
Who's that?
Brian Smith.
Oh yeah, okay. I imagine that would
That could
be.
be Mick Palin, he could have been another one.
Derek, did you belong to the St John's Ambulance Service?
Yes.
Who was the trainer? Where did it happen?
Alice was one, and Mrs. Baldwin, the doctor's wife, was the other one.
And was it quite a going concern?
Yes.
I have to say that our son's 36 and he was also part of the Badgers by Mrs. Calaby, so it went on for quite a while. So, and did you form part of the Remembrance Sunday parade that we talked
Oh,
about?
that's compulsory.
Compulsory? Yeah, I wouldn't like to say no to Alice, to be honest, no.
Neither would I.
And was it lots of kids do St John's?
Yeah, don't ask me to tell who they were.
No,
I can't
but-
remember them.
No,
There was
but
several, yes.
it was like the youth club, it was
Yes.
a sort of good going concern. Okay. Dick, I hate to ask this really of you, but what did you do as a teenager? Who was the biggest moaner of the kids? When you were playing.
Oh, we didn't really have a lot of mourners. We all used to get out and have a good time, and as I say, we used to go up to home close every night, play cricket.
The
on
home
rounders.
close. The home close for newer people in the village is now lovingly known as Mary's Meadow, and I have no idea why, but it's the meadow next to the farm where the footpath goes through. So that is the home close, and we'll come to that again a bit later on.
We used to play on the footpath, put stumps up and just play. And we used to play cricket, we go to Beeston, take all the equipment on a bicycle, simply. Fly on the bikes and carry all the bikes to Beeston.
That won't be
They
good.
didn't like us much. We
Beeston
beat
never
them
liked
once and
us.
they really. But yeah, and then, as I say, we'd all go together over the moat, and that was hard for us. We'd be skating on the moat, up Clay Hill. There weren't many cars then. I mean, we'd get the sledges up and go down and round. Yeah, we had some good times.
Do you want to just explain, anybody, where the moat is and what it was? Because obviously I know, and some of the
Well,
longer serving,
You go down here to where the corner is,
down the
where
corner,
the footpath is,
okay, sort of
across
past where
the-
Graham's living and right
across
on the
the-
footpath.
that's where the moat was.
And it was the ruins of a manor house, wasn't it?
Something years
Yeah,
ago, yeah.
so the manor house and there's a moat round it. It is still there, but you can't
Tits
see.
Hall.
So yeah, you say it.
Tits Hall.
It's Tittleshall Manor. I didn't want to say that. I just want Graham to be embarrassed saying it. Tittleshall Manor. And it is still there, but you can't get in there now because it's just trees and it's just, you can't see it. But
There's
yeah,
hardly any water in it now, is there?
I haven't been up there for 5 or 6 years.
When we used to have rafts on there, that was about 12, 14 foot deep.
And did any of you built rafts and you
Yeah.
tried to sink one another? Were any of you swimmers?
Now,
No, nobody swam, and they tried to sink one another on there, including his cousin Brian Smith, who always seemed to get sunk, I think.
when you're that age, you're indestructible, aren't you?
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true, isn't it? So, did you guys ever do anything that you would like to be kept from your parents? Because they've all passed away now, so you can tell us. Is there anything that you did that you would think, oh my days, if I went home and told Mum or Dad that?
We used to go round the village on guy talk, stick an odd banger here and there.
What about
Raffle?
What about Dora Johnson's door? Can you remember that?
No.
2 days before November the 5th, that was a lovely yellow colour. November the 6th, that was black.
Sometimes they used to tie in the alley houses where the bungalow is. There used to be 4 or 5 cottages there. The doors were not far apart, so they tie a string on that one, tie a string on that one, then knock on that one, and then nothing really now.
So, a couple of questions ago, I sort of said, what did you get up to, as a teenager? And you gave me the impression that you were, angelic. We're getting a different picture now, don't we? That's it. Okay, that's brilliant.
We got drunk one day. First time I ever got drunk. We went into the old rectory. No one had been living there for 2 or 3 years. And we found the Holy Communion wine.
Okay, so that had been a bit fermented, and it was, And again, when you say we, there's this royal we. Are you sure it was a we and not just Mr. Graham Bradley?
No, that was a we. Yeah. The usual gang of reprobates.
I bet that didn't include the teacher's pet, though, did it?
No, Derek was more into the farm.
Yeah.
What did Derek do?
Yes.
Let's just change the subject. Let's talk about the shops and the village supplies. So things like milk, bread, the butchers, the post office, pubs, fuel, and so because obviously it was a very active and busy village. So, Shelley, what do you remember about the shops in the village? Where were they? What did they sell?
2 shops were, when I was that age, were the post office and the bottom shop, as we called it.
The stores.
Where
Ben
Lovesey
lives. Okay. And the post office is where Tracy and Helen
yeah,
live.
that's right. That was very busy. Mr. Collison, well, it's Mr. Summerfield and then Mr. Collison
Yeah.
and Ken Smith. Yeah, that was the post office, as it says, but that was also general stores. And they sold just about everything. And the bottom shop was Mrs. Withers, and she was there forever. But yeah, they were very well stocked, both of them, and that's where most people did their shopping.
Fantastic. Village was self-sufficient.
Yeah, there weren't a butcher's shop, but there used to be one on the end of the cottage where I was born, where Emma lives across the road.
Oh, right.
Used to be a butcher's shop there.
Yeah,
One at Dr.
That's on the grassy bit, isn't it? On the grassy
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
On the
One
road
at Dr. Collett's.
So you were born in the butcher shop?
Yeah, I was born in the cottage.
Oh.
The butcher shop I didn't remember that being there, but because Holcombe Estates made that into a workshop.
But where Dr. Colin used to live?
No, this one here.
Oh, this one here, okay.
Yeah, and then that was a store for the shop, weren't it, Dick? Mr. Collison bought it in the sale for £40.
Wow.
And then Emma had the cottage, and that had gone by then, hadn't it, Emma? Yeah.
And the bakery one.
Pardon?
The bakery.
Yeah.
So that was
So the for bread, there was Mr. Bailey
Mr.
at the
Bailey.
Folly Yard, the bakery, he baked the bread and delivered it.
So which cottage in Folly Yard? Because we've got some people who live in Folly Yard in the audience. Whereabouts in Folly Yard was the bakery?
The bakery was up on the right-hand side.
So if I go up on the right-hand side, there's a bungalow there.
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Oh, so the bakery was there and it's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
completely gone.
that's a shame. It was a going concern, yeah?
Yeah, very busy.
Yeah,
Dick used to go on the bikers round, didn't you?
yeah, you used to go on that
On
every
Saturday,
Saturday.
what
On your
time
bike?
did you get home?
On your
11
bike?
o'clock.
Sorry. So you used to bike where? Round the village with the bread?
I used to go on that, I used to go on the milk round. When Brooks had cows in where the old pub used to be, they used to bottle the milk there. And then that was delivered, and we used to go to, bread we'd start at Tittleshall, Wellingham, Weasnam, Rougham, Litcham and Beeston. And Jack Bay would stop at every pub and have a pint. You used to get home from Welling at Beeston about 7:30 at night.
Oh my God.
That was beautiful drink. And then Brooks done the milk round.
How did he bottle it though? Did he literally milk the cow, or
No,
was
we
it?
had a bottle of wine.
Oh, okay. I've sort of had visions, you know, coming from the south of England. You know, I had visions of someone standing there and doing that, and then screwing the lid on. So,
And the
wow.
cows used to walk from the pub down to the bottom of Milam Hill, the grave,
which pub? The Ostrich or the other pub?
the ostrich,
Yeah. Okay.
and
It's a long way.
Johnson, Stanley Roach used to come up the high street, and they did meet one day. That was quite a pantomime, but then they had to stop because someone complained about the dirty water going down the ditch, and because then they had to pick up. But then we had the garage across the road, Bill Sunfield, take the accumulators all there, be charged up, get a gallon of petrol for 50p.
Yeah.
So we had a blacksmith.
Where was the blacksmith?
Blacksmith was in the ostrich yard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there still stuff there from the blacksmiths?
No,
No,
I know, but I know
they
where
were the
yeah, it's in
builders.
that little
They
bit,
were the
yeah,
builders.
right,
That's
it's Tracy and Helen's.
Well, mate, so the village really was self-sufficient. I mean, I know that I've traced the Osborne family back to something like 1690, living in the village, and they were wheelwrights and brickmakers. You know, the village was very different in the 1700s. So, yeah, sorry to say the Osbornes have been around forever. Derek, tell us about the pubs. Was there a darts team or a snooker team, or you know, was the pub a going concern?
Darts and dummies.
Darts and dominoes.
Yep.
And were you in the team?
Later on, yes.
And were you, you know, crack shot at double top?
No, we wouldn't say so, no. I never kept my place, so it couldn't be too bad.
Well, it's either that or everyone else was rubbish. So I'll let you decide, all right?
We used to travel all around, different pubs.
Dominoes as well.
Huh?
Dominoes.
That was a Massman League one.
Massam District
Yeah,
League,
that's right.
So was it a Tuesday night or could it have been any night?
Tuesday night, usually.
I don't know why I just picked Tuesday out of the air, so just pick a day.
Yeah, Tuesday nights.
And obviously there was a lot more pubs in the area then than
Oh,
there was
yeah.
now.
Oh, it's pub in every village. wasn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be playing all through the winter, basically.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we used to play pool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pool
And was there a
games.
pool league as well?
Yeah.
And was that at the Ostrich or were there any other? While we're talking, have you guys known any other pubs to be open in the village?
Yeah,
New
near
Inn.
The New Inn.
Yeah.
And who ran that? Can you remember?
Yeah, Mrs. Howard. That's why it's called Howard's Yard.
Oh, okay.
She's
Was
a-
that something to Dusty Howard? I see his
Yeah.
name come up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harold had gone. Their father was called Points.
Yeah. Pints Howard, because he ran the pub.
Yeah.
That's not very original, is it? Pints Howard. I was going to ask about the newspapers. Who would like to talk about the newspaper deliveries? Because the stories I've heard is that, you know, a chap called Jack Merton, who of course I know and I remember really well, you know, would sort of start his car off here and he'd sort of keep leaping out, his car would end up down by Fakenham Road somewhere. Is that an exaggeration or is that sort of
Well,
true?
probably not that far, but Stephen had been running along the side and trying to get back in.
There was people going around the village all day long.
Yeah, he's a character.
You know, you get Sylvia delivering the papers,
Yeah.
Veronica delivering the milk,
Yeah.
and did we have two post deliveries? One in the morning, one in the
Yeah,
afternoon?
Mr. Warren with
Yeah.
his boy, with
Jack
his
Warren.
parcels this hard.
Yeah.
So he came from Litcham,
Yeah.
Mr. Watson. And for those of you who don't know, Jack Merton, if we go down the high street on the left, there's two white houses, and Mr. Merton lived in the right-hand side one. And Stephen, who we're talking about, lives where Sue Bevan lives there now. And Sylvia lives in the old Holcombe cottages across here where Abby Chamberlain lives.
Yeah.
So
And
just for the more...
her grandmother used to clean the school and light the fires.
Oh, Sylvia's grandma.
For a long, long time.
So her mum was Annie,
Yeah.
and then there was the next
Louis.
generation.
And then after she retired, because she was quite old, I believe, when she retired, Elby Fry did it. Janet and Veronica's mother.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Used to get Mr. Bumble come round and sell them fruit and veg.
I was going to say, it was a travelling van, so Mr. Bumble,
Buncle.
Bunkle, Mr.
Yeah.
Bunkle,
Yeah.
that'd be great, wouldn't it? Mr. Bunkle, the travelling salesman. And where did he come from?
Bacon.
Okay. Oh, Bunkle's, by the cinema. He had a shop by the cinema, didn't he? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Kingston and Hearn,
Kingston and Hearn,
Corona Man,
international
Cockle
stores.
Man.
So all these people came around the village,
Yeah.
the Corona man, the cockle man, the two travelling salesmen, and the village was self-sufficient with food.
John Daniels used to come round to meet, and the bloke on there used to repair shoes. He'd take the shoes away in the tubes, he'd bring them back on a Friday.
Wow, the
So
cobbler.
everything was,
In the
And
Midlands.
George Daniels came from Wisconsin, didn't
Yeah.
he? I've met him a few times. So let's just change the subject again, and because I want to keep the evening flowing, let's just talk about farming. So we're going to talk about the sale of the village in the second half. So because obviously that's a huge thing, and a lot of people don't know about the sale of the village. But how many farms were there? There was lots of little farms.
Well, I remember 8, but there might have been more.
What did you do?
Crane,
Rose Farm,
River.
Lower Farm,
Rose
still
Farm.
at the bottom of the street. High House, do you know that?
No. There's an odd people live there now, isn't there?
Cooksford, Mr. Foster. Manor Farm is the one on the corner as you go to
Yeah,
Frank.
that's where Jane Lane lives now, and where Tim Offord lives.
Model Farm, run by you,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is now part of your farm, I believe.
The land is,
Yeah.
but it's owned by Edmondson.
Godric Hall,
Oh yeah, God,
Wickham Farm,
gosh, yeah.
any others, I can't remember any others.
Did you say Cranes? But Cranes was at High House.
Manor Farm.
Oh, Manor Farm.
Crane
Okay.
was there, Meads was there.
Yeah.
Stalky Crane.
Cooks.
Yeah,
Stalky Crane and Pints. What was his name?
Howard.
Stalky Crane used to come and get his tobacco at the shop on his big white horse.
From Manor Farm.
Yeah,
Oh my
but
gosh.
if you were in the queue or if you'd been served, that was the end of it.
Yeah.
He had to be served.
Oh yes.
Oh, good.
Everyone else stood and waited.
Did they? Good job I wasn't around in those days. That's all I'm saying. I'm just putting that out there. What do you think, Sam? Good job I wasn't there. Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, I was going to move on here. So, I mean, farming was obviously a very, very important part of the village. Did it employ lots of people in the village?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mostly from the village, weren't they?
And Derek, when you left school, you went to Litcham High School. And when you left school, you went straight and worked on a farm.
Yeah.
Did you ever have, ideas of something else, or was it just, there was employment and that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, well, I'd done my apprenticeship there quite a few years before Sam's Dick. And, time came and, I had other ideas, but I had an offer to go round to High House, so I went. The money, was what I wanted then, plus I needed a job and I'd sort it out later, but how things went, that didn't happen, but
What did you do before? What did you do for your pocket money on farms? You said, Derek, you worked on the farm, Dick, you helped with the bakers and the milk, but what jobs did you do on the farm and, when you were perhaps 11, 12, 13?
Well, help with cows, milk the cow, feed the pigs, do anything really. When harvest come, Brooks, we were at the pub, he'd have every kid in the harvest field doing something.
And how did he pay you? I've heard a rumour of how he paid the
He
kids.
used to pay us, Brooks did, we used to go to the pub, crisps and lemonade and
Yeah.
everything else.
As I've heard,
When
he
we
paid
worked
in
at
sweets.
Stanley Right, we used to get paid. And that's where I went to the sawmill when I first left school and I hated it, so I went to the farm.
Was that at Milam, the sawmill at Milam, or the
Yeah.
one at Raffle?
And then I went to Stanley Wright's and my first wage pack I had from there was £3.17 and 6.
Can you remember the year?
No, that'd be about 63, 64. Yeah.
That's not 1863, is it?
No.
Remember that, there's a lot of years of you guys here. So about 1960, and it was £3. And
17.6.
did that seem a lot of money? £3?
Well, we did think that was a lot of money because we didn't know nothing different.
Yeah, that's
my
true.
first one was less than a 5 back in '67.
Yeah.
But how much did it cost you to fill up your car with fuel? All sore subject, isn't it? But you know.
Well,
So it was
I had a
all
car
relative,
for the
wasn't it?
70s, and a pound would last me a week.
4 and 10 a gallon.
4 and 7 pence a gallon. Blimey, was that when the late King was alive?
No,
So,
that was in the early 60s.
so you talk about Brooksy, and I mean I've heard lots of things about Brooksy. So he had the pub,
Yeah.
and he had a small holding or little farm.
They had a
all
land,
farm
different
holdings,
bits. That was all divided up in Weldon Road, some down the Litcham Road. That's they all had little bits and pieces here and there.
through
Sort of a bit here and a bit
where
there.
found bungalows.
So as you go down past what we call the gravel pit, so going out towards Litcham where Kay lives, I understand there were some barns there just before you turned
tin
into
shed.
Milam. Whose were they?
Sammy Hunt.
Yeah, well, he had them in the pit, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had a tin shed of some sort
Yeah,
on the side.
further down.
So who's it? Did you say Sammy Hunt, did
Yeah,
he?
he had pigs and that with cages and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sammy Hunt, does that ring bells with residents, our older residents, okay? And so there was lots of people who, apart from the farms, we talked about cranes and,
Little
and,
bits.
and there was people who had little bits and pieces.
Yes, where Kay lives. Down there.
Okay, there was a pig farm where you are.
And a chapel, I think.
We're just rubbing it in then.
Sammy
Sorry.
Hunt was cruel, wasn't he?
Fun?
Sammy Hunt was cruel.
Cruel.
yeah.
Cruel to the animals or cruel to...
Yeah,
All right, well, we'll be...
yeah, we'll go there.
Let's move on to something, we've just got 2 or 3 things sort of before the interval really. So let's talk about something you've touched on, the cricket club. So I'm going to point my question sort of to that end really. Derek, I think you were involved in the setup of a cricket club. I don't think it was the first cricket club, but I think you was involved in the setup of a cricket club, weren't you?
Well, I didn't start playing until, I'm not as old as these boys, but I didn't start till sort of late 60s. But
Was
then
there
it
already a cricket club
Yeah,
then?
it was then.
I'm gonna-
The guys sit through there.
Yeah, I know, I'm going to come to
exactly all
Tony
that.
in the second half and ask him.
But I think that must have been either late 50s or 60s when it started, but I don't know for sure.
And it was a real going concern, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
You were in a good league.
No, well, not my time, no, it wasn't much of a league. We played a lot of non-league stuff, nights and that, but mostly it was friendlies on a Sunday. And we used to play league cricket then, obviously on a Saturday. That's all it was then.
And Dick, where did the team practice? Where did the cricket team practice? I know you said you'd set up some stumps on the footpath, but
Well, we
where?
had a proper cricket pitch on the home close.
And that's where you practiced. And was there a hut as well? You know, was there a pavilion?
Yeah, well, later on.
Later on there was, yeah.
Yeah. I seem to remember Mrs. Cullaby being involved in that quite heavily as
She was a
well.
scorer.
I can remember looking across and seeing these eyes staring, and I thought, what's she staring at? But actually, she was watching the wicket, obviously. But I thought she made me feel a bit, oh my God, the woman's staring at me, but she was staring at the wicket. So, and the cricket tees. Did you get involved in the cricket tees, Shirley?
Yeah, we used to do the teas in the village, in the British Legion Hall.
And where was the British Legion Hall?
Opposite the Bowling Green, roughly.
What is it now? Is it still there?
Houses, I think that's where Arthur is.
Arthur, do you know you took down the British Legion Hall?
Still got the rubble in the garden.
Still got the rubble in the garden, okay. So did you literally walk through the field from the back into the hall, or did you have to come round and down the street?
Round and down the street, yeah. They come in the cars and stuff, you know.
Arthur said he got the rubble in his, that's only the base. Of course, the actual hall's
That was
made of
a
wood, wasn't it?
What went on in that British
Yeah.
Legion Hall.
Oh,
all
yeah.
I
the-
bet.
you
Were
know,
there any stink bombs?
Wedding
knocked in?
receptions, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Wedding
no
receptions?
stink
Yeah,
bombs.
parties.
Bingo.
The first youth club before we had one up there.
Was in the British Legion Hall?
Fights.
Wow, that's
Is that
amazing.
fights?
Gosh, I'm learning something all the while here as well, and I hope that
That was
you all
quite
are
nice
as well.
size, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say,
That
Shelley?
was a nice size, you
Yeah.
know, quite a big building really.
No, but, yeah, because obviously the school was still a school,
Yeah.
so that would be the place. I mean, you said wedding receptions, of course. So there wasn't anywhere else in the village, was there, other than the pub?
Well, it's called the British Legion Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
British Legion
Yeah.
Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you talked about very big part of the village faith. But was it a real pig? Who donated
Yeah,
it?
oh yeah.
Oh,
Who donated it?
Well, they try any, get one off a farm somewhere,
So it was
and
literally
then
the
they
pig
take
was.
it home and he would rear it down the bottom of the garden and then eat it.
So it was literally when you were bowling, the pig was there,
Yeah.
and
oh,
you
yeah.
were looking at this pig and thinking, I'm going to get the highest number because I want to take that pig home and put it in my garden.
Yeah, back,
I tell you, they were the days, aren't they?
tractor
No.
backing, tractor and trailer backing for opposite.
Oh, really?
Big, big, wasn't it?
One,
A
yeah.
big faith.
Oh, big
Where was the fete?
Up and,
Behind Isaac Richard's pit.
where Lane's pit.
Okay,
was
so
the-
on
was
what
the
is now
Lane farm,
Lane's,
yeah.
Yeah.
and Tim
Manor
was
farm.
Tim Offord, so
No.
in there, that's where you had the fete. Tractor backing, that sounds, we're having a village fete this year here, 25th of June, sounds like something we ought to do.
Pony rides. Everything.
Well, who organised the fete?
Mr. Calaby, Herbert
Mr.
Calaby.
Calvin was.
And the British Legion Committee, presumably. They're all British Legion faith.
yeah.
Okay, and did the money go to the British Legion?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's- And it was obviously a bit like Remembrance Day, it was a big event,
Yeah, it
everybody
was.
from the village
Yeah.
came, and it was something was good. Well, what else was there? I mean, like I said, bowling for the pig, I'd heard of that and I couldn't actually believe it was a live pig. But, and the tractor, what else was there?
Golf laugh.
Welly throwing.
Welly wanging, that's what I like to hear, welly throwing, brilliant.
You can't do it now, do it health and safety.
I will do it, don't worry. What did you say, Dick?
Golf laugh.
Hoopla? What, literally throwing the
Yeah.
hoops over?
And they had a little thing with a, electric, well, that wasn't
Oh,
like
yeah.
a battery, and that, you tried to get this round, and if you touched it, that, you didn't get shot, but that basically, yeah, there was a lot of different stalls.
Well, we talked about a few village characters, and I've sort of got a few names, you know, that I know of, and some that I remember and some that I don't. I'm going to ask you first about Frankie. I think everybody knows about Frankie, and his bike was called Priscilla, I understand.
Yeah.
I have no idea what his wife was called.
His
But
wife was called June,
Joan.
because I got a little book at home where she wrote poetry
Ah, lovely.
about Frankie and various other things, their life on the road.
So he was Romany.
Yeah.
All right, okay, and that's why he never really settled in. So he was a village character, and in the latter years we used to drive through from Litcham, and would often, I'm sure lots of people in the room who were here at the time would pick him up and bring him home, him and Priscilla, and get him home safely. And so, what about Albert and Annie? I remember Albert and Annie quite clearly. Albert and Annie, they lived across here in the Holcombe cottages.
We lived next door to Albert in the old council house, at Wellingham Road. He was a good neighbour though, wasn't he? He had Morris minor cars,
He
whatever.
did, and I know this because this was his nickname. The registration of his car was COR290,
290.
and I understand that he was known, not as Albert, he was known as COR290. Yeah, so that was his nickname, and that's what he was known as.
Yeah, and him and Annie had a relationship of some sort, I don't know what. And then every weekend he'd take them out at 1:45 every Saturday lunchtime and every Sunday lunchtime.
At 1:45, he'd pull up
On
and
the
take
dot.
That's amazing. Now, Lenny Sutton, you talked about where the bungalows are at the end here, and there was a row of houses that went from High Street through to Fakenham Road. And I understand there was a man called Lenny Sutton who, when they were knocked down, didn't have anywhere to go.
He was actually in the cottage when they pulled the roof off. He wouldn't go out. He was very wooden Muslim. Stanley Road had a shepherd's hut in the farmyard where Corky House was, and he moved in there, and that's where he sort of finished his day. I mean, the farm never went. He'd go to work in the morning. He'd have the farm, the smoke would be going over. He'd open the door, and all you'd see was this black face. But they pulled them down the road.
Another name that I remember very well is Auntie Edie Melton.
Oh,
And her little dog, she always had the same little dog, and it always had the same name.
Andrew.
The dog was called Andrew.
Yeah.
She had the same dog, and you know,
We used to do
each time.
school dinners.
She did the school dinners.
Well, she didn't. They used to come from Leeton School up to the
Yeah.
rectory, and then she used to dole it all out and wash up and do lesson.
And I have
Andrew
to say,
Melton.
Well, she used to go every year up Scotland somewhere, didn't she?
Yeah, with the Dons from Elmham.
Yeah.
oh, Diana, yeah, I see Diana Don. But just a little anecdote about Edie. When our son was born in 1986, she gave Paul £1, and she said, I gave your mother £1 when you were born, and I'm giving you £1 now your son's been born. So that was very sweet. So that was lovely to get £1 from her. That
She
was
looked
lovely.
out for all us kids, didn't she?
She used to live next door to the nurse, didn't she? Nurse Philpott.
Yeah.
And where was that? Where did Nurse Philpott live?
Next
Up in
to.
the Crescent, in the bungalow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2 bungalows. isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, sort of near where Angela lives.
Yeah, next door.
I always remember when my sister was born, they had to give my mother oxygen, so I had to rush down to her garage to get cylinder oxygen and bring back.
Hilda, Lenny and Jimmy Taylor.
Oh.
Oh my days. You know, seen in the pub, but obviously, you know, I've got pictures of Hilda with my aunt, or with Paul's Aunt Violet, you know, in the 50s, and she was quite a dapper little woman. And they lived, for the people who live in the village now, they lived where Mr. and Mrs. King live in Back Street. Did they live anywhere else in the village?
No.
And Lenny Taylor lost his legs in a threshing accident. I
Lost one
understand.
leg, yeah.
Lost one leg.
He fell in the buncher on the back of the tractor at Patsley.
Pattersley, did he?
Jimmy and Hilda couldn't get on, they hate each other, so hate each other. Then when they both died, they buried them together.
I wonder what that noise was at the back of the church in that grave, and so they're shouting at one another. No. But I remember going in, or Paul more than me, but going in the house, you know, in the latter years, and moving chicken or two off the table,
Yeah.
and you know, and while she was having a cup of tea, and the chicken and the cats would all jump up there, and you'd sort of move, make a space, and it was always the last call you made of the day, because you wanted to go home and have a shower afterwards, didn't you? Yeah, so, but lovely.
Very good.
Yeah, she was in the village a lot with her bike, with her radio on the handlebar.
Well, she used to live in bread, didn't she, with Mr. Minister?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Mr. Minister, now there's a
Moylan.
yeah.
Jimmy used to come to the pub every night, didn't he? He had a
So
sign
does
every
Lenny.
night, didn't he? What do you have? Used to have half a beer, so many of them. Then he'd have, what was it, gin and something?
Gin and peppermint.
Yeah.
Gin and peppermint.
Yossies.
I'm going to just go on to the last subject before the interval, and then we're going to start the second half with Shirley just telling us a little bit of history about Peeling's coaches. So I'm just going to change it around, because I'm sure everyone can do the stretch. So the village has changed a lot geographically. Like we talked about the Little Alley. Was that called Little Alley, where the cottages were through there, where Lady Sutton had the roof pulled off while he was trying to stop it? But, I mean, Graham, you now live here in the new estate, which was built in the early 70s. I mean, what was there before all those bungalows and chalets were there?
Rectory Meadow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And what was it like?
Three pits and a stream running from where the oak tree is all the way down through the orchard,
Where was the orchard?
part of the rectory, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the oak tree is still there. That's right on the corner, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's just for people who live in the village now. It's where Suzanne Cope lives. So a stream ran all the way through there,
Yeah.
and there were pits. Was there many trees? What was it like?
Apples. We used to go and collect the apples from this doctor. Those kids.
So could you imagine all those buildings?
Yes. Yeah, the black pony, geese. We used to go up there, and that was where the flying field was from the school. We used to go up there sometimes and fly on that field.
That was where the playing field was.
Oh, that's where the
on
school.
Rectory Meadows.
Not very often, but a few times we go up there.
Do you want to know what hooligans done?
Yeah, I'd love to know what the hooligans done. I take it that's you.
Yeah.
What did the hooligans do up there?
There was a ditch running across, no water nothing in it, and I can't remember whether it's Mick or Neil been watching war film, and we decided to make some mortars.
make some mortars, what, with gunpowder?
Yeah.
Mortars. Oh, okay.
Well, if you look at the old rectory, the gable end has got a little window in it. There was no one in there, so we had the bright idea, we'd knock the window out with mortars. So we got some drain pipes and...
Can you all hear this up that end there? They got some drain pipes and 5 mortars at the rectory.
So we thought, what we've got to use for ammunition, you see, so I don't know what was Mickle and me, we thought we got plenty of clay, we'll make some clay balls and put in the oven bacon and use them for cannonballs. To cut a long story short, we never hit the window, but you can see where we went around it.
You can still see that.
No, that's gone now.
Okay, I was going to go and take some photos and tell the police who it was. My goodness me. So there was Big Alley and Little Alley. Where was Big Alley then? If that was Little Alley.
Howard's Yard.
Howard's Yard. So just Howard's Yard, which is where the new inn is.
Yeah, you can see how it drove right through there one time.
What was up and around Folly Yard? Because we talked about the bakery, but was there any farm buildings at Folly Yard? Has that changed?
There's one on the, just further up on the right, but then the gardens and the cottage all went that way. When they opened them all, they put them that way.
So the gardens went into what's now our fields? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they went down before you got to your field.
Oh, okay.
And that Brooks used to have that field up
Okay.
The other side of the bakery and behind the village hall was allotments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
there. So what, yeah.
Allotments, wasn't it? Yeah.
So the allotments were where?
Behind the bakery and behind the village hall.
The village hall being the British Legion
Yeah.
Hall.
Yeah.
So that's where the allotments were.
Yeah.
I had heard that there were some allotments up at Blenheim Crescent somewhere. Is that just a complete fallacy? And have I dreamt that?
Billy Carver had a little bit of land up there, but other than that, I think there were some allotments opposite the old town place. Long
And
one
2
before
people
it
used
was
the bit where the pump house used to be, didn't they?
So opposite where Basil now lives, on that field, there were...
further down this way.
Okay, because that field on the farm still goes as allotments, I think. Is that right, Derek? That field, that still goes as allotments. The field at the back of Blenheim Crescent. I've also made that up.
Johnson's old meadow there, wasn't it? That little piece.
I've made up a lot of it.
Can you remember the windmill?
No.
I know where it was.
So the windmill, there's some pictures at on the right-hand window up there. The windmill. The base is still there, Derek, I think,
That's
isn't
right,
it? The
yeah.
base,
Yeah.
and that's still called Mill Close. No,
Yeah.
is it? Paul, what's it called? Johnson's.
Johnson's
Days.
meadow, wasn't
Oh,
it?
my days.
Very
I think I need a coffee. Let's keep going here. So when did the old rectory get sold? I mean, when I came here, it was a bit of a commune. It was a lovely commune. It had Buddhists coming out every morning in their orange and facing the
I
sun.
think it was early 60s. I think Raunges were the first ones in there. I believe, if I remember rightly.
Sitting in the tree, it's starting to cut it down.
Yeah, that made the newspapers, didn't it?
Yeah.
Sitting in the tree to stop that being cut down, yeah. And the mural at the back was painted by
Yeah,
Rawnsley.
and that one up there.
And this, when we moved into the farmhouse, this was in the farmhouse. So I'm not quite sure how or why, but it's now in the village hall. It sort of
Yeah, I
didn't go with my curtains.
I think he did it for Donald.
Yeah, that's right. So that's great. And so basically, have there been other major geographical changes in the village? Obviously, we've had a lot of houses put in coming down the high street. There's been a lot of sort of fill-in of houses, and land's been sold. But the high street still has quite a lot of character, doesn't it? Even though there's a lot more houses, and it's changed.
If you didn't cut them all, they'd build a house on it.
If that's okay, I think we're going to have an interval. And then when we come back, Alan's going to start us off with a monologue. We're just going to just do things slightly different. Alan has to go. So we're just going to start off with Alan's monologue, which he wrote himself. Then it's eyes down for the raffle. Okay, so make sure you've got your tickets, and then we'll get going again. So, Alan, when you're ready, let's kick off the second half of this evening.
I'm just trying to find my memory of what it used to be.
Can I finding that is we have got some cakes left. If anyone wants to take some home and just chuck some loose change in the box for the animals there, please take some home. There's plenty of napkins. If you want to take some home, be grateful for a donation. There's lots there. Take whatever. Thank you. Over to you, Alan. Thank you.
Okay. We'll talk about a trip down memory lane. Who made that lovely crumbly fruit cake? Who's grown up to making that lovely fruit
Did you
cake?
make the fruit cake? Oh, that's Jenny Moore. Jenny.
Very nice. I'd like to take another piece of that lovely farm.
Okay.
That reminded me of my childhood when Nanny used to make cake
Yeah,
like
boiled fruit cake. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get you a bit cut.
Okay, come on. Thank you. Right, my memory isn't what it used to be. I remember the other one because I learnt it when I was a kid. But I wrote this 20 years ago. I can't remember the bloody thing. So I've had to make myself a crib sheet. So I hope you'll excuse me if I do refer to my prompt sheet. Anyway, one of the big things that made a big change around the rural areas back in the 60s was, of course, the beaching report. And a lot of the lines that were closed down and stations lost forever. Anyway, I wrote this for all the little groups who set up railway preservation societies. And so this is what I wrote anyway. The Millennium Special rolls down the track, clackety-clink, clickety-clack. We thought the trains would never come back when Beeching closed the line. I remember, back in '54, the trains rattled right past Grandma's door, as they'd done for 100 years or more, until Beeching closed the line. I used to travel to school by train, come sunshine, hail, snow, wind or rain. We were slowed by fog, but they never complained of leaves upon the line. And behind the school was a rustic gate, where at playtime we lads would stand and wait to spot Button's locos hauling freight until Beeching closed the line. And there was a little shunter, known to us as the old groan and grunter. For hours through the sidings it used to chunter as it shuffled the truck into line. I well recall those wintry days of steam when, screeching through the haze, emerged an express and we'd stand and gaze as it rushed past down the line. Then the teenage holiday camp romance. Oh, we'd stomp for hours at the last night dance, and she said she would write to you in the next chance, and you waved and goodbye down the line. By the end of the 50s, many trains were a joke. They were rusty and sooty, and phew, how they'd smoke. Just crossing the footbridge made everyone choke as the train passed below down the line. The bridge is now gone that once spanned the lane. We'd shown it easy from wind and rain, but no train will ever pass that way again since Beeching closed the line. There's a bank by the graveyard behind the church where rickety carriages used to lurch. It's now a thicket of oak and birch since Beeching closed the line. There's a signal gantry, it's overgrown, and a signal box which stands alone on an incline where heavy goods were grown until Beeching closed the line. The marshalling yard, where in days of yore the trucks would be shunted, has gone before a bulldozer plough for a superstore since Beeching closed the line. The station and platform once was bustle and hustle, with gents in frocks, coats and ladies in bustles, and a girl with a stall selling cockles and mussels back in Victorian times. Twice in their lifetime, our dear little station seen local folk off to fight for our nation. Then Beeching showed them his gratification for closing down the line. But the station's still there, and it's being restored. It's got a new roof and has just been refloored. There's even a Spartan timetable board since restorers took over the line. The friends of the railway, in their task, will not slack. What Beeching took up, they're now putting back. They're laying it in tweak and a few lines of track, trying to maintain the line. And there's a loco in steam, a small diesel shunter, and a restaurant car for the discerning punter. And the station master's checking his hunter to ensure that the train leaves on time. The train's at the station, the bunting is out, there's an air of excitement and kids start to shout. The whistle is blowing, off they shall go, and pull off down the line. Just half a mile down, then reverse back again, but who cares, we're riding our very own train. Who thought we'd ever do that again when Beeching closed the line? And the same thing is happening all over the land. So if steam's in your blood, come on, give us a hand. To help maintain the line. For there's something about the sound and the smell of a steam locomotive when it's being driven well. And so Dr. Beatty could go to...
Yeah.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter now, we've got the line. Thank you. I'm going to bid you all good night.
Thank you, Alan. If you can't get out,
Cake and,
yeah, we'll get some boiled cake. Paul, could you help out?
thank you.
Okay, would you be kind enough to cut Alan a piece of the boiled fruit cake? Thank you. Paul. Thank you very, very much. So we'll just have a quick draw of the raffle, get on with the second half. I think actually there are some whole cakes that are left as well. So I'll have a look at that later on. But Tracy, do you want to shake the raffle up and do this? There are 6 very nice prizes here. Big 6? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 prizes. Talking of prizes, prize bingo in here next Friday in aid of the Tittleshall Millennium Green Improvement Fund. So bingo in here. Eyes down, 7:30, £10 for 10 games. Tracy, do you want to get someone to pick the first ticket, please? Oh, she's shaking. Jane. This is where you pick your own number, Jane.
Sorry.
721. 721. White 721. 721 on the white. Yep. Brian, do you want to come and choose? And then thank you. Get Graham to pick the next one. There's an Amazon voucher, there's some pork, whatever you see in the groups is there.
912 on the white.
912. 912. Yeah? Lovely. Would you like to pick something?
All right, mate, if you pick something up, bring it around. Oh, drink it.
See you later.
725.
Thanks very much. Good night.
You're my thank you.
802.
Yeah. So what was that number? Oh, we've got Emma. Thank you. So Emma, we've got the Amazon voucher, that really nice gin, there's a backpack, lovely stuff, stuff on the house, Who's the next? Yeah, you got one? So it's 854. 854. Yeah, Arthur.
I knew that was yours, Auntie.
It's in your right, don't you, Shirley, every time.
So Arthur, so one of the people has got something at home, a backpack, something. Yeah, lovely, thank you. It's a lovely money box there. So what's the next number? Where are we?
Here we are.
Oh, 834. Yep.
No, that's what I just drawn out for.
Oh, 834, sorry. 834. Yep, Trish. Fantastic. So there's this one and then 2 more. Have we got any more that have been drawn out? So got this, right, Trish. So what we see in the group is subject to somebody at home, backpack, a friend, garden, book, or this garden cup.
788.
788.
788, John. Okay, thank you. So what you've got left, John, is some bits from the home, the candle and things. You've got lots of okay, thank you. So what we've got left is some lovely stuff for the home, some I think they're called shabby chic bits. So we've got one more number. What have you drawn out, Lana?
697.
697. 697. Oh, we have our last winner. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will count all of the boxes up. There's some bits we not having there. All right. All of that. Okay. I will count everything up and I will put it on the Facebook page and I will put it advertised obviously in the church and village. Thank you very, very much for your generosity. Can you manage this? Yes, Kathy said please come out. So do you want to leave it there till you leave? Yeah, okay, that's lovely. Okay, thank you, that's brilliant. So back to the business really, the business of why we're here. And I thought just, Shirley, obviously it would be good to have a history of peelings coaches in a nutshell. So when did was it Charlie, who's Charles who started it?
Yeah.
When did Charles start peelings coaches?
1923.
1923, gosh. And what did he start as?
One bus, which was a bus in the summer, took the back off and put a lorry on for the winter.
Very interesting. We should do that more, shouldn't we, actually?
Yeah.
And how did that develop?
Well, when Victor and Paul and Philip got old enough, they all joined business. And that's when the services all started and everything. You know, Lynn on a Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday was Wells during the summer. Oh gosh. Thursday, Bakenham. Friday, Dereham, all market days. On Saturday, Kingsland again. Sunday, Hunstanton every Sunday in the summer. Pack day, weren't they?
Yeah.
Then London excursions every once a month from Easter till Christmas.
Yeah, I've got photos of Paul's auntie taking each of the children off to London on the bus.
Yeah. And then there was private hire, taxi service with a car, and hospital car service.
And when did the school runs
The
start?
school runs were the best business of the lot, really, once you got a school contract. Mainly in the Pakenham area, all around the village, far out as Rydborough, Brancaster.
Yeah, first time I met Philip was 1971 when he was driving the bus from Burnham Market.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I moved to Tittleshall a couple of years later, I was quite surprised how far out he'd gone.
And then, you've got a lot of work from schools, swimming jobs, outings and everything.
Brilliant.
So it's,
And how many people did it employ? And obviously the family.
yeah, well, there was 3 sons, and then Paul moved to London to work for British Airways. And then Nigel was there with the car for a long, long time. 3 or 4 people really outside the family.
And did they do their own maintenance?
Yeah.
That was Victor,
Big and mine.
Could you ask the people washing up just to come out and so they can hear what's going on if they'd like to? Generally, I'll wash up at the end. Well, I'll say I will. Thank you. So, yeah, sorry, it's just, people coming. Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah, until 1990, Philip retired, and then the Joplin family
And I think the Joplins, they do holidays, don't they? They do holidays, they do day trips out, and they do trips to like 4 or 5 days in the Isle of Wight, or Wales, or Cheshire, or somewhere I've seen. So still very much a growing concern, still going concern, brilliant. Well, I just wanted to sort of ask the panel here. Obviously, the village was sold off in 1958.
Yeah.
So the village was owned by the Holcombe Estate, and I think I popped something on Facebook for those of you who have sort of seen the Facebook, which just sort of said, here's to trigger your memories about the sale of the village in 1958. So what are your memories of the sale of the village? And Derek, what are your memories?
I haven't got any. I don't remember that. I'm talking about that high.
Okay. Do you remember, I had a feeling that Mrs. Johnson took you all up to the field and made you talk about the auction or something.
Ah, that was when Meads sold up.
Oh,
I was
okay.
on the Meads or Johnny Hurst, I can't remember one of them. We went for an auction up there for machinery and that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So that's a
on
bit
the
later.
Meadow up there.
So Meads is where High House Farm
That's right.
is, yeah. Okay. So, well, let's start with Shirley, because 1958, you were a teenager. And what were your memories of it? Because where did you live when that sale village? Because were you worried?
We were in the council house anyway, but what I was worried about was my grandmother, who lived in 51.
What is 51
It's
now?
the last house before Tony and Chris.
Okay.
which was a Holcomb house, but my granddad had worked in the woods, and his father and his grandfather for 100 years.
Wow.
So he thought they were all right, and then he died in 1956. So we wondered what was going to happen to her. But when they did the sale, they actually put a condition on the sale that she could live there for the rest of her life rent-free. So that was
Fantastic.
good.
And who bought that house then?
Well, in the end, her son Ned bought it, and eventually Uncle Dick bought it from him.
Yeah.
So she was okay anyway, but I didn't know that at the time.
No, of
Because
course.
my aunt came home to live with her when Grandad died, and so she wouldn't have had anywhere to live, they thought. So that's why they bought her, to cover her. But then she died before my granny.
So was there a lot of worry in the village of people
Oh,
who
yes.
lived here about what was going to happen? How did they find out about the sale? Can you remember?
I think everyone in the village had the sale book. But what Robin told me was that Holcomb Estates sold everything to Mr. Guthrie because he wanted to buy the woods. And then the sale at Duke's Head at King's Lynn was selling the village part on his behalf.
On behalf of Mr. Guthrie?
Yeah.
And who was Mr. Guthrie?
I don't
Just
know.
A rich man who
Yeah.
he bought everything from Holcomb?
Yeah.
Okay, I certainly didn't
No,
know
I
that.
didn't know that, but he told me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, seeing all the lots, I've actually got a catalogue, and I think some people have.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And you actually see, you know, 51 High Street, you know, £9, 6 and 4 pence or something like that. And
It's
and I thought,
really, really interesting, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. I'm quite happy to sort of photograph some page and put it on the Facebook page. Do you guys have a copy of the? Okay, I'll put a few bits up. So where Blenheim Crescent is, and what we call the old council houses, Wellingham Road, sort of where Basil and John live, that you sort of felt quite safe and quite
Oh,
secure
yeah.
there.
That wasn't anything to do with them. They were council, weren't they? Yeah.
Do you have any memories?
No, not really. I mean, I think some people who lived in the house could buy them before the
They
auction.
did, didn't they?
But you had to pay all,
Yeah.
I mean, you had to buy, I think Charlie Melton bought one over there, about £45, which was a lot of money then, they got. But Folly Yard cartridges, I think they were sold for about £10 each. To be pulled down.
Sam? You up there?
But the council house was built outside the village,
Yeah.
because Holcomb was allowed council houses to be built in the village. That's why they were built outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you ruffians or something? I don't know. But I think I'm going to look to Paul, because Mr. Body lived where you did, and I think his was bought, wasn't it, before?
It was both halves of 85 and 86
Of Fakenham
Litcham
Road,
Road.
Litcham Road, yeah.
were both sold previous
Yeah.
to the auction, but I don't know why, but there were.
I suppose, like you said, some people could just buy their
Yeah,
houses.
they negotiated with them and bought them.
They
yeah.
negotiate with the solicitors. Yeah, so the sale at the Duke's Head in 1958 was Guthrie selling off. So where were the
That's-
woods? Where were the woods that Guthrie
Well,
had?
all the Wickham woods, all the woods up there.
Okay, up towards Wigan.
Yeah.
And was anything left of Grandstein village at that point, or was that all gone?
And that was all gone, I think. Well, it was just some foundations.
Yeah, and they're still there.
Yeah.
Mrs. Medlin lived up there, didn't they?
Sorry?
Mr. and Mrs. Medlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Probably the last one.
They would be in the last one, yeah.
Which has a cottage, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where they lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walked up to it by,
Did McDonald's live in there?
Oh, yeah, I think they went up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, before they come down the old outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. and Mrs. Medler, I've probably got the name wrong. Who moved into, or who had lived previously in what is Keppel House now, or the new rectory?
Me.
Miss Mead?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I got
Miss
it.
Jackson was the one who, I think she was the last one to live there before they sold that to the church. To make it into the rectory was in 1965.
Gosh. Okay. So basically, as I had thought, the selling of the village was a huge affair. You know, you're sitting there, you're working, you're going to work every day, then all of a sudden you get a catalogue and it says, by the way, your house is going to be sold. And I can't imagine what that must have been like in the village.
No.
And all the farms as well, because I think the front of the catalogue said 5 farms of, and it said 2,000 and something acres, and so, you know, you can imagine owning that farm and working on it. So someone like Stanley Wright, who's at Rose Farm, obviously he must have rented that from Holcombe Estate at the time. Would he then have bought that farm? I mean,
No.
Elizabeth isn't here.
No, I think Siemens, Miller's bought that, he rented it off them.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's interesting. So, but like Mr. Twyke, who was at Model Farm, for example,
Yeah, I think he bought his.
he bought his, yeah. There's a, I don't know if people remember Mr. Twyke. We, 2020, I think, Derek, we led a cavalcade at his funeral, didn't we? We got some of the vintage tractors and things and gave him a really big send-off. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's sort of been really interesting. I wanted to end with that. I mean, is there anything that you guys would like to say about, you know, what your families did in the village, you know, what they worked at, how they came to be here?
Well, just the Sisons mainly were forestry.
Did they have
three
a
of the
good-
sons, and one of them went to London as a policeman.
And that was
The
Uncle Dick.
Metropolitan Police.
That was Uncle Dick, as we knew
Yeah,
Dick's
yeah.
side. And was the sawmill at Milam, was that to do with them as well?
Yeah, that was Ned, as they called him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ned
We
and
used to
Dolly.
Laura's dad.
Yeah, Dolly, yeah.
We used to do the wood round, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
The wood round, what was that? Nicking wood?
No.
No,
No?
Shirley used to do the wood round on the Saturday morning.
What was the wood round?
Well, when my aunt came home to live with my nan, she weren't retiring age, so she didn't have a pension. So my Uncle Ned used to buy wood for her, and then we'd bag it all up, and then I'd take it around the village with Betsy Torts on a Saturday morning, helped by Graham and anyone else who'd give us a push.
The old 3-wheel barrow, what we used to use to take the rafts up a little with.
And so did you get money for that? Is that how you learned your pocket money? That and what about, Joe, what about finding Corona bottles? Did that keep you in sweets for a long while, just going around the village finding Corona bottles?
No, I mean, they come one week and they take the bottles back the next week. We used to go down to the pub sometime with that sort and get a few bottles out of the crate and then take them back.
We used to do that, didn't we?
Do you remember that in the very beginning when I said to Dick, did you get up to anything that your parents would share? And he was like, you know, I could almost see the halo, and that has certainly slipped as we've been talking, Dick. We've got a
All
definite...
harmless fun.
Yeah, of course it was, of course it was. But I mean, I think that it's been really interesting. I'd sort of like to open the floor up really, either to your memories or to questions about the village, and you know, please join in. So I'm going to start this off by asking Tony Garrett, who's sitting at the back there, about the cricket club, because you were involved in the cricket club for many a year.
Yeah, I think we reformed it again. They had a cricket club after the war. I don't know exactly when it stopped, but like Dick said, we used to go and play on the path, and we decided we'd like to have a team of our own. And we were mostly young boys, weren't we? I think Tony Lesher and Bindi were the senior members.
Bindi. Yeah.
And we found where we thought the cricket pitch had been on home close, and we managed to cut it out and roll it and make some kind of pitch on there anyway. And I think 1960 was probably where we started. Our first game was at Hardingham, and we went in Charlie Phelan's bus, and all the parents were there, and we had a bus full. So I remember right, Dick, didn't we? And then we joined the World Cup, and we won that in 1962, I think I was. And you got most of the runs, I remember.
So, Dick, I'd heard that if the ball hit your bat, it was either 6 or nothing.
I know good Pascal.
6 or
And I hit on this.
Yeah. I heard it was either 6 or clean bowled.
Yeah.
Is that true? Tony, is that true?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, but you were a keen bowler, weren't you? You were a demon bowler. I've seen you play.
Well, I think keen is probably the word rather than demon. But yeah, we used to have 3 years. Took it over in the end, I think. And as we all left the village, Derek was left there, and I don't know quite when it finished.
Back in 81, I think. Yeah. 81, I
So
think.
that for 20 years anyway.
We were struggling for numbers, weren't we?
Is that where you cracked the tile on Mead's building?
Probably.
What was that, Graham? Sorry? Cracked a tyre.
tile
Oh, tile.
on your farm.
Oh,
You can
probably.
tell how far that was from the creek.
Yeah, that was a bit unfair. I was just going to ask Tony, there is rumours of a women's cricket team, women playing at the end of season against the men. Is that
Yes.
something you remember?
Yes, I was. We had to bat opposite hand to we normally do, and your mum was there, wasn't she?
So you had to bat in the opposite hands than you normally do. So if you're right-handed, you had to do that. And I can imagine Alice coming in there to
Yes,
bowl.
she'd be in there,
I
yeah.
wouldn't like her.
They had a match against Beeston once, the women's team.
The women's team had a match against Beeston. Beeston women's team or Beeston men's team.
Beeston women. Beeston women.
So were you part of the
And
team,
we
Shirley?
won.
Were you part of the team?
Yeah, because Christine, I'll never forget it, Sam's sister Christine, was quite small, she was only young. When she came in to bat with me at the end, the bowler, who was a Ralston from Brampton, great big girl.
Hang on.
Well,
Great big girl, apparently, for those of you who didn't see that.
to Christine, I suppose I'd better bowl underarm to you. And Christine said, bowl what you like, we don't care. And we beat them.
Well
I
done.
was furious, absolutely furious. Because I were involved with the process, and he was the umpire, so he wasn't happy.
No, all fair in love and war. So village cricket was really political then. Tony, any more memories that you've got?
No, I think that's great.
That's brilliant, that's brilliant. Anyone got any questions or memories? Any memories from this lovely group who've come back to the village after park manager many years of being away? Or are there any questions about, how I can see Helen. Hi, Helen.
Hi. You mentioned earlier about the windmill. Where exactly was it?
Derek, do you want to
I
explain?
couldn't hear.
Where exactly is the windmill? So Derek can
I
explain.
think Derek can explain that better than me.
Next door to Woodford Lodge, on the same side, there's a field, there used to be a little roadway up to it, but that's long overgrown. There's a small field there, and that's right in the far end of that. The foundations are still there, the old brickwork, but that's all overgrown with brambles now, and there's a little bit of the old buildings where Arthur Johnson kept his bullets in there.
Helen, if you want
the
to...
sand pit was, Derek?
Pardon?
Is that where the sand pit was?
No,
The other side of the road.
At the bottom of Stephen's garden.
Yeah, but yeah.
At the very back of... Helen, if you have a word with Paul, he'll take you and trace the tune. Yeah?
Thank you.
That's okay? Yeah, no problems, yeah.
I got a question. Tell us about electric and drains and water and...
Pardon?
Tell us about electric and drains and water and all those things. When did they arrive?
That I couldn't tell. Some of the Nan Thompson, when she lived over here, she just had oil lamp, didn't she?
Yeah.
Most of them did. When we lived up the old count's house, we had one standpipe. Well, we had a well to
We
start
had a
with.
well, yeah.
Then we had a standpipe, which screws up on Boxing Day, didn't pour out no more till March. So we used to have to drag the water home to the farm in churns to get water to drink. Our memories, I thought electric was on in the village, most places, when we were born anyway.
I think that was in the 40s when...
Yeah.
And was the mains water and drainage?
Most places never had a bathroom anyway, so
Yeah.
you just had a tin bath. When you finished, you just tip it out, take it outside and
Well,
tip it
when
out.
we were children, most people
Yeah.
got their water from the wells, because there were various wells.
But there
all
was
around
wells,
there,
yeah,
weren't
there was one here,
Yeah, and one down
One
near
up
the
Folly
Harbour
Yard.
side, just Folly Yard.
one in Harvard Yard,
Yeah.
a pump on the
Pump
corner,
in the pub yard,
yeah. One up the old coast houses,
yeah,
but when they built the new coast houses, they was on main for
they
them.
were then, yeah.
Yeah.
Now John, who's here, who lives
I've just
in Wellingham Road, has discovered a well at the back of his house.
In number 5 Wellingham Road, there obviously was the one in the hedgerow where everyone used to go to between, was that 4 and 5?
Yeah.
There was the main one where everyone used to get their water from, but we discovered there's one in our garden at number 5 as well.
The only thing I can think on, years ago when Herbie Askew lived there, was He had a shed on top of, that's the only thing I can think of.
The shed, the outhouse sheds.
I'm talking
were
about a
to
wooden
the
shed.
side.
He had a big wooden shed. Yeah.
Up Wellingham Road, you used to have a sort of built-in copper, did you?
A what?
A built-in copper where you used to pour the...
Oh, right, yeah, you had the carper, the fart, and the oven, didn't you? Yeah.
And the outside toilet as well, wasn't it, Dee?
Yeah. What about the honey cart? Do you want to, what was the honey cart? Because I know what it was. Do you
Well,
want
that comes empty toilet.
Yeah, no, I know it is, but a lot of people might not know. So it was basically the man or the person, and did he have like a tanker sort of thing behind?
Yeah, well, they used to come round with a lorry here.
And he'd come and you'd have to put your LSAN, your outside toilet, and
They would do that, and that'd be in the dark.
in the dark. So they missed a lot, did they, Sergeant?
No, they didn't miss anything.
But you knew, was that once a week or once a week? So you had to store up all your stuff once a week till the honey cart came around. And yeah.
I remember me and Dee, Shirley's sister, when they lived at the old council house, going to the toilet. You had to go outside into Shirley at the garden. And we used to have a candle in a jam jar. And we'd go in there and there'd be all these shadows all around. And we'd scare the living daylights out of each other.
Derek, you had an auntie who lived round in Back Street where there wasn't mains water. How did that work?
Sorry?
Sorry, I was just saying to
Oh,
Derek. Derek had an auntie who lived round in Back Street, which is where's Richard? Oh, hello, right beside me. Sort of the tiny bit of your house there. And they weren't on mains water. How did that work?
Well, there's a well at Hills as
It
well.
was a well up that
Yeah.
end, but as long as I remember, I thought because they ran a mines down the back street, didn't they?
Yeah.
I thought there was, when the mines went on, the village they did that one. I'm not sure, 100%. I know they had a well up at High House.
They had one at Hills as well, didn't they?
We found 2 wells at the farm, at High House. We found 2 wells. One indoors, which was a complete surprise to us when we were renovating the house, and one outside, so the one that's out at the top of the drive.
Had a big pump on that.
Yeah, and one inside, and when your nanny visited us, she said that was where they made the butter, because obviously her husband, Cecil, was cowman there, and Nanny said that's where she made the butter, that's what the well was, but it was capped, but only about that thick, and so it was, could have gone through at any time. I could have lost Paul and claimed on the insurance, but that didn't work, he found it. So.
Yeah, there was a pump in the new inn, the old ostrich, but we used to, as kids, had gone stand there, pump for about an hour, fill the tank up in the dairy to cool the milk. Well, there's one there as well.
In the bottling plant you were talking about earlier on?
No, this was where, that was near not far from the back door, but you used to go and pour your pump to that for about an hour, fill the tank up in the dairy to cool the milk. Because you pour the milk in the top and then that run down in the churn. So they all found us kids something too.
But Nancy Brooks used to bring the milk round in a horse and cart, didn't she?
Yeah, Nancy did, yeah.
And we'd go round and get it in a jug.
And where was she based in the village?
Well, in the pub yard, that was Miss Brooks' daughter. And she had a little horse and cart and a churn on the back, and she'd go all around the village. I remember her coming to the Christmas. And we'd go down with the jug and get it all filled up, and that was it. Before we had milk bottles and milk them.
Did you guys hear that at that end? Because that was really interesting, yeah? Did everyone hear what Sandra had to say there? Okay, so literally, milk, literally, as really, it would be fantastic now, wouldn't it? We have all these recyclable stuff and just go around with the horse and cart and put your bottle underneath and go indoors. That's lovely. Lovely memory, thank you.
We used to do that at Lower Farm. They used to sell the milk straight from the cow.
That's where Courtney House is now.
Yeah, there's a trailer there with churns on, and Amy.
Oh yeah.
Well, you remember Amy.
So that's Miss Johnson,
Yeah,
the school teacher.
No,
her
that was the
sister.
sister who was only invited to tea now and again,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and you go down and various people in the village, like my nan who couldn't walk down, they'd do the errands for her and get 2 pennies for it, take the can down. Amy tip it in. And Philip went down there once and his bike was far too big for him. He had blocks on it, but he couldn't get on or off unless it was near a bank. So he used to ride round and round the yard whilst he did it and then grab it. Yeah, that was before Mr. Brooks had the,
Do the stream still go through the new inn?
Does the stream still go through the new inn?
Cellar?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Every time we had a lot of rain, Mrs. Hard had to go to the fire
yes,
brigade.
the fire brigade, we all just stood and watched it.
Yeah, pump the cellar out, put the beer barrel, would be floating in the water.
I think we've pumped the cellar out. I'm looking over to Paul. Did we pump it out, or was that the ostrich? Well, if I can remember. Okay,
That
again.
stream came right down from that field we were talking about,
Yeah,
right through the village.
it's all underground now, but I don't know whether it still goes through the cellar now.
So anybody who's sitting here who actually lives over in the new estate, as we will forever call it, if they've sort of got a bit of a cold feeling on the floor, it's because there's a river underneath them. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could walk across from it.
Yeah, from the ponds, yeah. It's amazing. Was it surprising that they ever built a housing estate?
Yeah, I remember the first day they started that. That was the day I brought my daughter home from hospital.
Wow.
That'd be the 2nd of October, 72.
They did have a lot of problems with one or two of the houses, didn't they?
Yeah,
And
I
one
think
on the corner,
Captain
that
and
sunk
Richard
into,
had structural engineers, and
yeah.
Where's that, sorry?
Catherine and Richard Homestead.
Oh, yes, okay, so that was round where Claire Le Mesurier
Yeah.
then lived.
Another
sort
one
of
on the
last
corner where Maggie and John lived, Graham.
Yeah,
They had to do all that yard outside that sunk into.
where Claire lived was where the stream went round and then went down through the orchard.
Yeah.
So that's sort of next to where Sue Bevan is, for those who know now, and yeah, sort of the row of what was Rivets or Foster's cottages there.
Well, Suzanne, hers is built actually on top of a pit.
Oh, nice. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask the panel? Otherwise, I'm going to sort of wind up the evening. And is there anything else you guys would like to say?
When we were at school, remember we used to do dances? Remember that? When we were at school with Dora, we used to do country dancing. And we, in here, we used to go to Litcham School. There was sort of the different villages. There was Beeston, there was Beeston, and all different ones. We went to Litcham School at the time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a competition, wasn't
That was a competition. And we all had to wear. We had these dresses that we made. Yeah.
But you do there for sports day as well.
Yeah, we used to do that for sports day as well. We used to sort of do that, and we used to go to Beatley at sports day. Yeah.
To Beatley?
Yeah.
We're at the old school that is sort of on the corner. It's now a private house.
I think so. The playing field there, I can remember. Yeah, it was back in Beatley. And there was all different schools in the area that went there.
Yeah.
Competed.
Amazing, isn't it? And all of this in the lifetime of these young people here. And I'm really glad that we've tried to capture some of these memories and the memories of our residents, our ex-residents who have come back kindly to tell us. And I think I've learned a lot, and I thought, by chatting, especially to Shirley, we've chatted a lot, and I thought I knew quite a lot, but I've learned such a lot tonight, and I hope that you have found it enjoyable. And as it's coming up for Easter, I just thought it would be really nice just to say thank you to the 4 who have given up their evening. I know some of them were really worried about this evening, and I think they've done a sterling job, and thank you. The money. Lana, obviously, I'll let you know what there is for the animal rescue. I hope that you guys, whoever's watching, has had a look at the key rings, and Lana's made them in her workshop. There is some, like I said, there is some cake left if anyone wants to grab some, and if you feel able, just to put a few more pence in the pot. Otherwise, I'm going to say again, thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure to see the hall so full and for such a good cause. I'm very grateful. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.